and gentlemen, it is 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 13th. I'm going to call the Finance Committee meeting to session. First up is roll call. Mr. Bellin is here, Mr. Barr is here, and Mr. Fury is here. We're also joined by Mrs. Walker, Mr. Post, and the illustrious Mrs. Wishgrass. Next up on the agenda this evening is a chairperson nomination. I would like to thank my colleagues. I was the chair of finance last year. Thank you for letting me sit on this committee. We appreciate it. May I have a nomination, please?
At this time, I'd like to nominate Mr. Fury as chair of finance. Is there a second?
I will second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Fury. The meeting is yours, sir.
Thank you. Do we have any audience participation? Would you like to say something, Mr. Barr? Are you sure? Okay. All right. We are no audience participation. Has anybody got any corrections or changes they would like to make to the minutes from our November 22nd meeting? Hearing none, I would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted. May I have a second? Is any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are adopted 3-0. Temporary appropriations, we've read, this will be the third reading for our temporary appropriations. I'm sure that you can get Jeff one of these so that he can look at it and see what's in our budget. And then, so are there any final questions or questions regarding our temporary appropriations for 2023? We had a summary of a 4.48% increase over last year, primarily due to infrastructure investments. Our capital in 2023 is going to be in excess of $5 billion. Those are the big takeaways I took from our last summary meeting. You know, is there? So this budget's a $46 million budget, rounded up.
Mm-hmm.
So, any questions? Thank you. All right.
No.
Okay. Ms. Wishgrass, would you like to comment or give us anything, or would you like me to just make a motion asking the Finance Committee to make a recommendation to adopt the budget as submitted?
I will ask you to make that recommendation. I did want to just let Finance Committee know that there were a couple items on Capital Improvement Board for the dispatch center, the phone system and the CAD system. So the phone system was approved last year. It was in the 2022 budget, and they're
$50,000 or the $250,000.
It is $250,000, but it's over the 5 years, so it's $50,000.
So it's a $50,000 installment payment over 5 years, but it's $250,000.
Right. So the other large investment on the CAD system, we had it in for the same around $250,000 with a $50,000 a year, but that is coming back a little higher than anticipated. So we will talk about that again next year at the permanent budget, but I wanted to bring it to council's attention because it's a significantly higher amount that it's coming back at between
like a significantly higher $100,000 more, or is it
$100,000 to $150,000 more.
So that went up from 250 to 400 that fast?
Yeah, so the CAD system, that $250,000 that we had in the summertime when we were going over things with Capital Improvement Board, I hate to use the word guess, but it was a best guess at the time as they've gone through and went and did their talks with the vendors and figured out what exactly they need out of that system. After those talks, it came back quite a bit higher than we expected, and then there's also a pretty hefty implementation fee, and then there's also a lot of work to be done to get the data out of our old system and get it into the new system to the point that it just sounds like that's going to be very difficult to do, that data transfer.
So are they looking for an alternate solution, or are they looking at?
They're looking at all avenues, but they do have one that they're leaning towards, and that pricing it's coming in a bit higher. And I know we've been talking a lot about the investment in dispatch, and so I wanted to bring that to your attention because we'll bring that up when we do the police fire dispatch presentation. but usually that's one of the later ones because we're trying to get the most accurate numbers we can. So I wanted to bring it to your attention now so you're not surprised by it when we get there in, I think I do police fire in March. So.
We have to have final, excuse me, final budget done and approved next, what's the date next year?
March 31st.
31st?
Yeah, the second meeting in March is when we pass it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. So that was all. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But yes.
Thank you.
That's why we put it on an emergency.
Yes, that last meeting.
You take the time and,
Yep.
as opposed to doing it in February. wait a month.
Yeah. So if Finance Committee is comfortable with the budget, if there are no other questions, I would ask for a recommendation to council from Finance Committee to approve the 2023 temporary appropriations.
This time I'd like to make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend the temporary appropriations to all of council. Is there a second?
What, second?
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion? I think it's a pretty lean budget, to tell you the truth, so thank you very much for your work on this. Okay. So, without any more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the recommendation comes 3-0.
Thank you.
Okay, miscellaneous. Mr. Bellin?
Nothing this evening, thank you, sir.
Mr. Weber?
Nothing from me this evening, thank you.
Can we just have a brief conversation about golf cart debt with the inclusion of the clubhouse and the revenue you think we're going to get out of the 15 million? Because I thought we were looking at like 2.2 or 2.3 off of the this year in 2022. So.
Yeah, we do. As interest rates rise and we're able to reinvest the money that we have in our current account, we are hoping to see higher rates of return, obviously. But for right now, what's coming off, what's maturing are those investments that we had at the lower rates that we were at a few years ago during COVID. So probably next year, I can bring up the line item in the budget that I have in, if you give me just a moment.
Sure, this is what you're estimating revenue on the interest is in 2023?
Yeah, and
Okay, thank you.
the revenue budget isn't lined out in the budget document, so I can get you that number, but it wouldn't quite cover the debt service in 23. But hopefully we hope to get there.
$250,000?
I think it was between 200 and 250. Yeah,
Okay.
I've got to find the line
I thought that's
item.
what it was going to be this year. I thought it'd go up, but I understand that.
Yeah, I think
take into account that we were doing 5-year rolling stuff, and we need a couple years to make that work.
Right. Yeah, the Star Ohio, we have that couple $1 million in Star Ohio, and that sees a quicker change because that's invested and those rates change every day.
We've only got a couple million there, right?
But it's the But it's the portfolio is where things roll off, and so we'll be able to invest in higher rates.
Is the golf course note at 2.6% currently?
So it ranges between 2 and 4. It depends on the year of the bond sale.
Okay, I thought it was 2.6.
That I think that's like the weighted average maturity is that 2.6.
So I can use that number.
It's a good talking point, right?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's on the debt documents. Yeah.
We borrowed 7.
Right.
7.1.
Mm-hmm. I think it was 7.125 was the final bond sale.
So we did 7.1, and we're about $400,000 a year, 396, something like that.
Yeah, it ranges from like 400 grand to 405. It's a pretty set payment every year. Yeah, it's just the principal goes up as we pay it down and the interest goes down just like any other, debt service. Yep.
Okay. So that's $7 million of our long-term debt is bond.
Right.
How much money do you think we have open right now on zero interest water lines? The Ohio loans that we did for the acres. I thought it was less than a couple mil because,
for the OPWC loans,
Yes.
no, we've got a good amount in OPWC loans. I want to say it's between 7 and 8. But I can get you that number. It's on our it's on our audited financial statements every year. But no,
Those are
there's
0%
a
loans, so you
those are
can-
0% loans, but there is a good chunk of money in OPWC loans.
Okay. So other than OPWC and the clubhouse, what other long-term debt do you have?
The only other long-term debt we have are the special assessment bonds, but those are paid for with specific property tax assessments. It's just an in and an out. The collections come in, we pay the debt service, and once they're paid off, they're paid off.
Can you give me an example of one? You're not talking about the police?
No, it's like, there's two little special assessment bonds from way back. I think it was like in the 90s or the early 2000s. And
Just the
one is
part?
like $3,000 a year, one is like $15,000 a year. But again, the property taxes
We're
come
not
in to
gonna
pay
get
it.
around those in. So-
Yeah, I think one's called Sweeney, and yeah, there's two of them.
So long-term debt, we're looking at about 15 million right now with zero interest loans covering 8 million rough.
Yeah.
And then the 7 million at 2.6 on average is the 6.
Right.
When you amortize that out, we're looking at
Yeah,
1.7.
we had good timing on the clubhouse bond. We were able to take advantage of a pretty competitive bond market.
All right, I'll stop. I have enough talking points.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell us we're in dire financial straits last night. At least that's what I heard.
Yes, good.
We've been able to do some good work on the general fund,
But
so we've been able to shore up the reserves. So I think we have a healthy general fund.
sure, of the last statement of cash, it's going up 4 mil
Yeah.
on the last snapshot
So,
that I've seen, which I know that there's going to be a snapshot soon
right,
for November.
yeah.
And then we won't see the close. The close will be the close.
Yeah.
And I know
Well-
that you always slow that down and spend things at the end. I get it.
Right, yeah, we have our debt service at the end of the year. But yeah,
I understand.
the income tax for this year, we prepared to take a pretty big hit, and it didn't come. So, you saw over the two appropriation
Right.
amendments that we did this year, we added in 1.75 million in income tax because we had planned, because of some
Drop.
changes, and we didn't experience the drop this year, so we ended up at 24.5 million in income tax collections. And as
Is
we
that the
always
highest
talk
we've ever
about,
collected?
that, I think it is, because I think back in 19, I think we topped out just at 24.
24.8. 24.
24.5, I think, is on my report for tonight.
And that's on your report.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 24.58. So as last year at this time, we were at 22.6. So, it's good news, it's great news. I don't know how much of it will issue back out in refunds next year.
Right.
That's the scary part.
Can I ask a question about the, I don't know, Bill, you brought up.
You are not on this board. You are not able to. Just a joke.
Oh.
That wouldn't work on anybody's second.
Right. Now I don't want to talk. Listen, no, that was good. That was good. Let me ask you a question. So you brought up last finance meeting that you wanted workers in Twinsburg.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
Oh, you
Go
were?
ahead.
Because I know, Sarah, last time at the meeting when Bill brought up the fact that, let's get a message out to the residents, hey, if you're working at home now, let's keep the money here. I know you said you were going to call Rita.
Yeah.
Find out about that. I don't know if you did. If you didn't, that's okay. I was just curious.
No, I sit on the RETA board now, which is nice that Twinsburg has representation there. Thursday, we have a board meeting, and so I was going to go over that with them on Thursday and see what information RETA's going to be putting out for next year's tax filing season. And then if they're going to be putting out some paperwork or advertisements, because they do a huge advertising campaign just to get people to file their taxes. So if they're going to add on that information, we can just grab it from them and send it out.
They don't have, there's no really vehicle. I was going to ask this, Dave. I was going to say,
Okay.
no,
I'm not
They
trying to
don't have-
upstage you.
no, I'm not upstage. But there's nothing they can do to track what, so Mr. Barr works out of his house, and he's in Twinsburg, but he's still paying tax to Seoul. there's no trigger that they can figure out he's working on his taxes unless the paperwork says he's working on solar. So you really have to, I don't think, you know, when we're at Cleveland Clinic, when we were asking them to track how many days the doctor's here versus he's Harvard or, it was just not, I don't understand how they can come up with a deal for that. So I'd be curious to see how they're going to handle it.
Yeah.
And if they would help with the public information program.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work on the work from home refund side of things right now because of those law changes. So they're creating new reporting and they're letting us know, you know, where the money came from and where the money's going. And I know they're working with some of the larger businesses on implementing how to withhold tax, because there are quite a few companies that are, you know, like we had one here, it was 1,000 employees and now they have to figure out how to pay, who knows, 100 municipalities instead of one.
Just for the record, I earned all of my income at 3300 on Station Street, Sullivan, Ohio. Just like the record reflect that.
It was just as an example. I would have used Mr. Post, but I already insulted him earlier.
Rita people coming after me now.
The work of Lyndhurst.
Just for the record, let the record reflect.
44124.
Are there any other? I lost my agenda.
Right here, buddy.
Oh, did I write that? No.
Nope.
Okay. Is there any other miscellaneous?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Mrs. Walker, you have anything?
Nothing.
Anybody else want to talk? Jeff, got any questions about anything financial? Because we got another 15 minutes if you want.
I probably have one, but I don't know that yet, so.
Not a problem. Okay. Hearing that there is no more miscellaneous at this time, and we have already rescheduled our next meeting for January 24th. At this time, I'm going to adjourn the finance meeting at 6:47. Thank you.